Right? This was enough for Fox News to say with almost certainty that this was a terrorist attack. This was enough for the leader of the Canadian Conservatives to say in Parliament that this is, as we're learning now, supposedly a terrorist attack. How are you going to keep us safe? This was enough for Ted Cruz, an elected lawmaker who still has a tweet up to talk about how this was a terrorist attack. Multiple media personalities to talk about how this is a terrorist attack. Hire Rychick of Libs at TikTok to come forward and be like, oh, you know me. I only report on the facts of the ground, and it's a terrorist attack, all right. Who's in our country? Who's in our country? Who's in your brain? Yesterday, we had a little bit of an incident. There was an explosion at the US-Canada border near Rainbow Bridge. That explosion led to speculation. Was it a Canadian trying to attack America? Later on, it seemed that the person was trying to enter Canada. So was it an American trying to attack Canada? And then soon, there was a whole bunch of Canadian far-right individuals, one of them being Keen Bexty. He used to work for Rebel Media, posting a whole bunch of inflammatory stuff, such as, hey, by the way, this is a terrorist attack. I have insiders telling me, sources of the highest levels of the military to prepare. There will be multiple attacks. Now, Canada was saying that this was a Islamic Jihad attack. Well, these are far-right individuals, pundits saying it's an Islamic jihadist attack on Canada, originating in the US, but all you Americans were saying the exact same thing. Laura Loomer was saying that this is Muslims. Right away, Fox News began to report that this is in fact a terrorist attack, and soon enough, the country was on high alert. Multiple borders were shut down, and everyone was waiting to see what happened. And as I was reporting on it live, because it was all breaking yesterday, I was making fun of the 24-hour news cycle, you know? I was just sitting there being like, you know what always happens? A bunch of people without, you know, they don't have information yet. Just have to sit there so no one ever changes the channel and then just speculate wildly on what they see.
Flashback.
If this was like 24-hour news cycle footage, you know there would just be nonstop speculation as this just repeats, right? Like they'd probably, well, we gotta make sure we milk every second of this because people are watching. So let's turn this down to 2.5. Let's repeat this. All right, I'm live on the scene here, and while we don't have any details as what is happening, it is certainly shocking. We have had speculation now. FBI is arriving on the scene. Both the border is closed, coming in from the US and Canada. And again, we don't have any details. There seems to be what appears at the bottom of the screen there, a police officer walking. Now, I'm not sure if it is the video footage itself or if he's actually transporting through time through some kind of mechanism. They do seem to what appears to be, some people are saying glitching, but that could be many things. We're not entirely sure yet. Again, we are reporting live here on the scene, and again, just having to speculate on what we are seeing for the next 4 to 5 hours to make sure you do not turn away. Don't look at a single other TV network. No one else will be able to bring you breaking news like we are. There are firemen there. There's a fireman holding a hose, it appears, and pulling the hose from the fire truck. I cannot say from this distance. I can only speculate on whether or not they in fact have hard bodies. I'm going to assume behind the fabric is most likely a body that is hard, but again, I'm not entirely sure. We can't confirm that. We just have to speculate wildly on how hard those bodies actually are behind the fabric.
End of flashback.
Fox News and a lot of people, including Ted Cruz, a politician, were immediately sounding the alarm that this was a terrorist attack. Ted Cruz's tweet about this being a terrorist attack is still up there, and yes, you can blame Canada for that one. Ted Cruz is apparently Canadian, but when you find out what this story actually turned out to be, holy fuck, holy shit.
Bridges connecting the U.S. and Canada in Western Ontario near Niagara Falls have been shut down. This after what the FBI is calling a vehicle explosion. We also heard that from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and our Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc. The incident happened at the Rainbow Bridge. It happened on the U.S. side. Now, we do have a time now. It happened just before 1 p.m. local time. No word yet on injuries or what caused this explosion. Let's go now to Hillary Johnstone, who's gathering information as well. Hillary, what's the latest that you know?
Hey there, Hannah. Well, of course, there's still a lot that we don't know, but we still have a lot of information here that we can share with viewers at home. So if you will, let me go through some of what we know at this point, some of those statements that we have on the record from officials
Now you can tell all these reporters are trying their best to try and, soothe their Canadianness. Sometimes Canadians, they sound a little bit like they're from Minnesota, and sometimes you take professional courses in order to get rid of your Canadianness. As you can tell, I've been doing everything I can to suppress mine. That's why I try to talk like this sometimes, sound like a radio announcer. That way you won't hear me. Actually, I really actually sound like this, then, Harry. It's just me and the rest of the hosers. We all talk like this all the time, then, eh? Future Prime Minister, unfortunately, as far as the polling is indicating, but we don't know yet, the Conservative leader of Canada, fascist millhouse, Pierre Poilievre himself, has this statement to make in Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, we've just heard media reports of a terrorist attack, an explosion at the Niagara crossing of the Canada-U.S. border. At least two people are dead, one is injured. It is the principal responsibility of government to protect the people. Can the Prime Minister give us an update on what he knows and what action plan he will immediately implement to bring home security for our people?
Now, these are huge claims by the leader of the Conservative Party of the country to be said in Parliament nonetheless. And at this time, had there been reports of terrorism, had there been confirmed reports that this in fact was a terrorist attack, or was it Fox News? Pretty sure it was Fox News. He's tried to now, backpedal on having done this, because this is a bit of a oopsie. But at this point, he said that he actually saw it in a CTV news report, in fact. Well, no, I don't get my information from Fox News. I'm a Canadian, goddammit. That's American.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is obviously a very serious situation in Niagara Falls. There was a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge crossing. I've been briefed by the NSIA and the Minister of Public Safety. CBSA, RCMP, and Transport Canada are all fully engaged in providing the necessary support.
Okay, so that was around that time. CTV's first story that I can find was posted at 2:39 p.m. and Poilievre's first question during the question period occurred at 2:24. J'accuse. I'm sorry, Pierre, but the case here would show that them posting a story in which they basically relayed the Fox News story at this point, you could not have known that. The only way you could have seen that there are reports that say that this was a terrorist, a Muslim terrorist, is if you were watching Fox News. If you get your news from Fox News, even as a Canadian, which Canadians do have access to Fox News, then you would have felt confident enough to stand there and be like, well, Mr. Speaker, we are getting reports that this, in fact, was a terrorist. Yes, and a terrorist, perhaps it was Hamas or Hezbollah. I can't remember which one is worse at this point. I don't have confirmed reports, but I'm suspicious they may have been holding a Quran as they approach the Canadian border. Do you have confirmation, and how will you keep us safe from this deadly terrorist attack that is taking place right now? Obviously, Laura Loomer here. Just in, jihad plot in New York City, get out. The FBI is suspecting that a car bomb explosion terrorist attack at the Rainbow Bridge U.S.-Canada border in Niagara Falls could have been headed directly to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. FBI and NYPD on extreme high alert and advising no travel to New York City. They are also now looking for a second vehicle. Stay out of New York City. America is under attack by Islamists again. I feel really bad for the maybe 2 or 3 people who take Laura Loomer as a trusted source of news and then immediately are like, holy fuck! Just ran and packed everything. Did you see this? There's a jihad lot. Libs of TikTok. Known for telling the truth. Known for always reporting facts on the ground. Libs of TikTok, your source for trusted news. We just had an attempted terrorist attack on U.S. soil. This comes just a few days after the FBI Director Wray confirmed that the border crisis poses major homeland security threats. We have no idea who's in our country. Who? Who is inside the womb of America? Trying to gestate and take the nutrients of the other more noble and pure fetuses or fetusi inside America's womb. We don't know, but it's frightening, certainly frightening. And that's a question that everyone has to ask. Who? Because we don't know,
Mr. McAdams is reporting that according to high-level police sources, the explosion was an attempted terrorist attack. A lot of explosives in the vehicle at the time. The 2 people who were in the car are deceased. One Border Patrol officer was injured. Driving from the U.S. apparently to Canada. And we're trying to drive towards...
Oh, okay, so you get that part right, because most people were saying this was like a Canadian terrorist attack in American soil, but then other people were like, no, this was an American coming to Canada. So the terrorist attack was towards us from y'all. That's what was happening here. Our two nations coming together in the most beautiful of ways.
The CBP building. So all bridges in the area have been closed. All government buildings in the area have been evacuated.
As is protocol.
And just like that, this is a major story for us this hour, John, as we just laid out the eve of Thanksgiving, millions of Americans trying to get on the road, take to the skies, to travel domestically as well as overseas. A lot of those folks heading to Canada. A lot of them might now be blocked, at least temporarily, from doing so in the wake of this reportedly attempted terrorist attack.
So if it's true that this information is correct, that the vehicle was going to transit the Rainbow Bridge from the American side to the Canadian side, that this may be an act of terror that was perpetrated against the border facility. So put that together with what...
Couldn't even give Canada that one, eh? Couldn't even give... Maybe Canada was the target of the terrorist attack. No. I mean, come on, no. They hate freedom. Ain't no one more free than America, okay? So if they hate freedom, they're obviously attacking America. They were trying to attack the American border crossing. Yeah.
We have seen on our southern border, and then the news from the FBI director, that the terror threat alert level is at the highest it's been in years. And if you put those two things together, this could be a direct attack against our border security operations.
Wow.
And that would be a very big deal indeed.
That would be massive. I mean, if they can take out border security, then it would just open it up, you know, and then Americans could just flood into Canada or vice versa. They just run wildly, you know, flapping their arms like a bunch of Muppets.
Senator Chuck Schumer just tweeting a few seconds ago on X. He's closely monitoring the situation on the Rainbow Bridge crossing between the U.S. and Canada in Niagara Falls. Federal, state, and local law enforcement officials are all on the ground and investigating. He says to follow, if you're in the area, guidance from emergency officials. He also thanks brave first responders. We do know from the mayor's office that the FBI has already taken the lead in this investigation, John. An early sign there towards reporting we're now getting that this was likely an attempted terror attack.
Whoa, you're getting reports that this is now likely an attempted terror attack. Wow, this is accelerating so quickly in real time too. Again, speculating wildly based on, what is this, an internal source or something?
And the fact,
like, you can tell how much they're frothing at the bit right now to keep going back to the, you know, play the old classics, the post 9/11, all Muslims are potential terrorist threats, the myth of the radical Muslim minority by Ben Shapiro style, and in this case, without any direct evidence to understand what this could potentially be, because as of now, at this point in time, all anyone knows is that there is a vehicle, it has exploded, and what eyewitnesses and eyewitness accounts are saying is that the vehicle began to accelerate rapidly. It hit something, it flipped, and it blew up, thereby killing both of the passengers inside. But that could be only one of multiple cars that were planning to potentially do alleged terrorist attacks on that day. Now, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever pointing towards the fact that this could be a radical Muslim extremist, none whatsoever, outside of, again, just a whole bunch of racist ass right-wingers and some very racist people in Canada as well, who are also right-wingers, just going along with it. Traveling to Canada, and at the time we were under COVID lockdown measures, and so when you get to Canada, what you had to do is you had to sequester yourself inside of a 3-star hotel for a period of time. I believe it was for like a week or 2 weeks. So he did a whole story about how he was kept prisoner in Justin Trudeau's gulags, and then tried to make the whole, like, he films himself while he's inside the Canadian gulags and tries to really play it up and be like, you have no idea how much I'm suffering. I ordered room service and it hasn't arrived yet. This is what they want to do to us. And like, I genuinely thought it was a skit. Like, it's that embarrassingly bad. You think it's a skit. It's not a skit. The guy was genuinely trying to get people horrified that Justin Trudeau was, again, running some kind of forced concentration or forced labor camps in Canada. And it turned out that it was that you had to stay in, again, 3 to 4 star hotels as you awaited arrival from your trip overseas, because you have the money to do so and travel. Either way, he's one of the people who I'm sure a lot of American media was reflecting upon, stating, breaking. A senior Canadian military official has spoken with me directly. They say, quote, it's gonna get worse, after describing the explosion as a terrorist attack via a vehicle-borne imprisoned explosive device, also known as a VBED. Exclusive report right here on my personal news outlet, The Counter Signal. Didn't stop there. Canada is going to have to decide what we value more, our relationship with America or violent anti-Western immigrants. Yeah, wasting no time, just ramping up that racism. And I guess, the anti-Western immigrants that have arrived in America also pose a threat to white Canadian values. Just so everyone knows. But when these assholes, who thanks to, Elon Musk have blue check marks, are considered a source of news for right-wing extremists, like, again, Laura Loomer, who, again, took a lot of the talking points from this and then decided to put this out there. And it doesn't really help when you have national news services like, Fox News out there broadcasting this is, in fact, a terrorist attack and we need to do things about it and, all that kind of stuff. Ted Cruz, who, by the way, has not taken this down, said, "This confirms our worst fear. The explosion at Rainbow Bridge was a terrorist attack. Both attackers are dead and one law enforcement officer is injured. I'm praying that officer makes a full recovery and is able to spend Thanksgiving surrounded by his family and loved ones. Thank you to our law enforcement officers who are remaining vigilant and working to protect America traveling for Thanksgiving. As Benny Johnson," yes, the same Benny Johnson who has been caught really loving gay cruises and searching gay cruises so much that he gets customized gay cruise ads in his Google search, says, "Breaking, the car explosion at the border between the US and Canada was a, quote, attempted terrorist attack, and there was a lot of explosives in the vehicle."
Oh. Alexis McAdams is reporting that according to high-level police sources, the explosion was an attempted terrorist attack.
There you have it.
A lot of explosives in the vehicle at the time. The two people who were in the car are deceased. One Border Patrol officer was injured. Okay. Driving from the U.S. apparently to Canada.
Apparently. It's hard to tell. Apparently, there was push alerts sent to people with the mobile app saying the New York vehicle explosion was an attempted terrorist attack. So this is CNN reporting it.
How many people this bad information could have reached?
Yeah, this was irresponsible reporting. This was reckless reporting. And by all accounts, it was inaccurate reporting. We now know that the governor is saying there was no indication that there was a terrorist attack, but that's not what Fox News initially reported, and reported for hours. I want to give you a sense of how they reported this. Early on in the afternoon, they sent a push alert to all their mobile phones, people with the mobile app installed, and it said that the New York vehicle explosion is attempted terror attack, according to sources of theirs.
How many people this...
Well, they're saying that it's irresponsible, and now they're trying to walk it back, apparently.
Means that our borders need to be secure. We shouldn't be living in fear. But
that's
what the cluelessness in D.C. is forcing us to do. It's having dire consequences on the safety of our nation.
Oh, okay. So you're no longer saying that this was a terrorist attack and that there were explosives in the car, and this is something that everyone should be really freaked out and on high alert. But you're saying that this is because of how silly DC and Joe Biden is, and because of that, you didn't know any better, and it was just hard for you to do reporting and journalism. I guess, it's so tough. Well, how do we do that? Look what happens to us.
And the psyche of the average American. But at the bare minimum, we need to know who's crossing into our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to know that. Not at all worried maybe that you are a source of a lot of the hysteria. That, again, a lot of the manufactured outrage, the panic, the fear, the deep-seated fear that a lot of Americans feel, especially older Americans who spend all day glued to Fox News. Well, what did they get? This steady dose of all day being like, they're coming to kill you. Your own children could be poisoning you. Indoctrinated by wokeness and Marxist ideas, they now feel that they need to so-called eat the rich, and they view their grandparents as wealthy. Your own children could try to cannibalize you in your bed tonight. The only way to stop them, watch Fox News. More stories coming up at 6. But first, hey, do you love gold? Do you love bonds? Do you love giving your money to us? Well, we got gold, bonds, and all kinds of things you can buy at really, really bad exchange rates. Not deleted. Again, Benny Johnson, not deleted. All this shit is still up there. I don't know if Laura Loomer's is. But we now, after all this, we found out what it was.
Well, investigators have been going backwards through the day of the person they believe to be the driver of that car. And what they see is a 56-year-old man from the area. He lives in a very upscale island, and that's not far away, who had intended to go to the Kiss concert, which was canceled, then changed his plans to a casino where he spent some time, and then leaves the casino and then drives at a high rate of speed along this road in Niagara Falls, hits the divider, goes airborne, as the governor said,
I kid you not. It was a dude trying to get to a Kiss concert. A 56-year-old American who wanted to go see Kiss, who were playing in Toronto, who incidentally ended up canceling their concert due to, I believe, the lead singer having a bad throat from the COVID. Is what happened. Yeah, that's the story. That's the story that a lot of people thought all day was a 9/11 happening. That's right. This was enough for Fox News to say with almost certainty that this was a terrorist attack. This was enough for the leader of the Canadian Conservatives to say in Parliament that this is, as we're learning now, supposedly a terrorist attack. How are you going to keep us safe? This was enough for Ted Cruz, an elected lawmaker who still has a tweet up to talk about how this was a terrorist attack. Multiple media personalities to talk about how this is a terrorist attack. Hire a chick of Libs at TikTok to come forward and be like, oh, you know me. I only report on the facts of the ground, and it's a terrorist attack, all right. Who's in our country? Who's in our country? Who's in your brain? What the fuck? How did this get so wild? This all happened in the span of a day. This was a story that got blown up into a moral panic, that got blown up into a national crisis, that got blown up into, is this 9/11? Is 9/11 happening right now? And it was a dude trying to go see Kiss? A guy trying to see a Kiss concert who flipped his car going too fast and ended up killing himself?
And lands in an explosion. Authorities believe he was in the car with his wife. This was a Bentley two-door Excelsior X. This is a car that goes for about $300,000 new.
A rich 56-year-old.
It does not, as Matt Maragula from the FBI indicated, the special agent in charge in Buffalo, who runs the Joint Terrorism Task Force up there, does not have any of the earmarks of terrorism. It looks much more, as they have been able to go backwards through it, like a terrible accident. The question is how and why, and they're still looking at that, but they don't believe there's any criminal or terrorist nexus here.
I mean, not that it matters for some folk, you know, not that it matters for a lot of people who are going to continue to do these mass panic events and are going to continue to profit off it. And a lot of them, I mean, it's one thing to kind of just like delete your incorrect information and try to hope that not a lot of people saw it and not have to ever issue a correction or state publicly, well, yes, I was wrong. Because yeah, who likes to do that? No one likes to say they were wrong. No one likes taking L's, even though some people should do more, because you kind of do have a responsibility when you got a massive platform to do that. But holy fuck. In this case, a lot of this stuff is still up there. A lot of people are still saying that this was or is a terrorist attack or evidence of a terrorist attack, adding the racism and the xenophobia and the Islamophobia that it happens to be a extremist Muslim-based terrorist attack with zero evidence whatsoever to support that. And if it turns out that, in fact, it was just a 56-year-old Kiss fan who was trying to get to a Kiss concert in Toronto and then ended up in a terrible car accident, I mean, that's all there was. That's what the story is. We don't need to do this anymore. We don't need to keep people in mass panic mode because, yeah, there's probably a lot of people who are going to be really afraid when they see, whoa, the country's under attack and get ready for another one. Apparently there's a second car and the car had explosives, and I don't know this, but I'm going to just assume they were saying some kind of stuff, I don't know, in another language, a foreign language even, the scariest of all languages. So yeah. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This show is produced by amazing people like you, and if you want to help us out, please consider donating over at patreon.com/theserfs. The show is made possible thanks to Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Cady, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, La Media Panza, Matthew Scarborough, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Pappy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Sir Nickus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demo, Tech Tink, Trevbot EXE, Words Greenwood, and not to mention all of the amazing and fabulous people you now see before you.